In today's video, we'll have a look at the opportunity for the gold long trade setup. That's what we outlined yesterday. Prices are coming into the key levels and you may be able to trigger that trade plan as soon as today. We're also going to have a look at the level that Bitcoin bulls need to reclaim to recover some key levels. They're approaching the yearly open, a very, very critical zone, with the downtrending trend line at least still sloping down and price coming into that key zone. And then I also want to talk about specifically Ethereum, where something interesting has taken place over there and it may be leading the market. So we'll go through all of that and a whole lot more today. Smash the like button. Let's get straight into it. You can see a little bit of a more optimistic picture within the market over here, and just a little bit of green, and the optimism returns very, very, very quickly from the bulls. But can they sustain this, right? Will we see continuation? Will they break through those higher prices? Or is this simply just the bigger trap that's still being set up for lower prices, right? Because yesterday we spoke about those key levels and the trend still being down, lower lows and lower highs. So we'll talk about what needs to happen to begin to flip that trend back up. As optimistic as it may still feel, the trend is unfortunately down, but you can go and vote over there. Will they will the bulls at least be able to flip that daily trend back up? Yes, no, not this week, maybe next year. Let me know your thoughts over there. Actually, quite a lot of optimism within the market. You can see 48%, 47% now. Believe that, yes, we can flip those trends back up. While you go vote over there, please do smash the like button and let's go, let's go. So I want to start off over here with some of the metals. We'll go through the other stocks as well, see what's happening over there in the stock market. But coming off of this ascending triangle, we've been looking for a little bit of a pullback now. Generally speaking, this is going to be fair game to begin to scale into a long trade on gold. If metals are going to continue to lead the market, this is going to be a good entry zone, in my personal opinion, for continuation higher. And if the asymmetrical triangle over here, or the ascending triangle at least, plays out, well, you can expect much, much, much higher prices. This is giving you about almost an 18% price move without even using any leverage over there. So I think a very, very good risk to reward, 5-1, 18% price move towards the upside over there. And all in all, this is one position that I have been scaling into, and I'm going to continue to scale into that position over there. If we get larger, well, we'll get larger entries if you get down to about 4,129 on gold. And I'm willing to buy all the way down to about, the psychological round number of 4,000. If we start to break below that and gain acceptance underneath this upsloping trend line, I'll probably reconsider and, consider just cutting that position. Now, even just physical gold will make sense for this kind of a trade over here, because this is still showing a lot further upside. If we look at silver, silver's had a leading move. We've already done that comparison, comparing the two. Let me just quickly show you once again in case there's new people over here. So you can see very, very, very similar picture over here. This was silver leading, breaking out first, and gold slightly lagging. So if we go back to the charts over here and we have a look at silver, well, silver, you might see a little bit of a throwback down into about 55.2. So for any of you that are maybe looking for higher time frame entries, positions that you want to hold for swing trades, I think that's the level to hold for silver. You basically want to break. You've broken above and you want to break and hold that now. So if you pull back, you want to have that SR flip into this key zone, which basically drops you down to about 54.4. But given the fact that you have this inefficiency candle, the fair value gap based on that candle, this move that went up on Friday, that's going to be a significant zone for a pullback to hold as support. And then you should see that continuation higher. And we'll see what happens. Maybe on this pullback for silver into that zone, that leads to gold pushing up higher and basically playing out this portion of the move, which we haven't yet seen from gold. So we look at these things oftentimes very similar to the way that we focus on ETH BTC. If you look at the ETH BTC ratio, you can think about this in the same way. ETH BTC is one of the things I do want to discuss today, because we've actually seen that tight symmetrical triangle on ETH BTC begin to break out. Look at that over there. But we'll get to that just now. Let's continue on over here. Let's quickly have a look at the S&P 500. Still holding up over here. As long as it remains above that 6,800, it's not a bad zone. Pretty decent. Dow Jones, sloppy but grinding its way towards those highs. We had the risk to reward tool set up to 50,300, and you can basically just extend it off of this pivot level over here and expect when that level gets hit, that's going to be a pretty key zone. Nasdaq as well, lagging the S&P 500, but nevertheless still slowly just grinding up over there. Apple, new all-time highs. NVIDIA actually struggling. NVIDIA failing this yellow box over here, which was also a key 50% level from the low to the high. So it needs to get back above 185 to be repositioned back into strength. And Tesla looking really, really good, reclaiming back above the breakout level. This is a significant range high on the high time frames. You can see how long Tesla held within that trading range over there. Flipping this into support is really, really good and should provide the springboard, the slingshot, the momentum to get this up into that 720 target, which we have, which is a very high target that we've had for a long time, but we'll see if we can get there. Meta just chopping about. Google also gone parabolic over here, so probably needs a bit of a pullback. Microsoft coming down. It's got a huge gap down at about 409. Amazon also rejecting off that key level, needs to get back above 240 over there. And then we'll quickly just have a look at some of these. What's going on Coinbase. Coinbase, it's okay. Very similar to Bitcoin. Very key level. If you look comparatively to Bitcoin, Bitcoin is still trading above that level. Coinbase lost it, I think, more in dead cat bounce zone over here. You need to be careful. Circle putting in also a bit of relief over here. Target towards some of those key 50% levels as resistance. Anywhere between the golden pocket and about 112 on Circle is going to be big resistance. MicroStrategy, which we obviously took 75% profits off of the short trade because we're anticipating a bit of relief and a bounce. Well, you're now getting that. So we'll look for the weakness. When the weakness begins to get found once again, because I do believe you'll see that, you'll see a lower high forming somewhere in a couple of weeks' time. And then we'll just reallocate that 75% profit from the short trade back into another short trade, because I think that we can ride this one down quite a lot further. I think that, realistically, you could very easily see 100, but I'm actually targeting even as far down as about $50 on MicroStrategy over time, right? Not overnight, but over time. So those are the main ones I wanted to cover as per the traditional markets. For any of you that are lining this trade up with me and you want to take the gold trade, one place you can do it on, of course, remember, is BTC, one of our partner exchanges, because they trade stocks, commodities, forex pairs, and a whole lot more. They've been in business for 13 years. And the most important thing is you're getting 40% off on your trading fees if you use the link in the description of the YouTube channel here, BTC. So let's move on. What about crypto? Where are we at? Well, unfortunately, if you look at the on-chain metrics for crypto, all the indicators are still bearish, right? As said over here from Kyledoops, without macro liquidity, basically crypto will enter into a bear market. Most cryptos are already in a bear market. I guess let's isolate that comment down to Bitcoin. Bitcoin will enter into a bear market if we don't see liquidity. Liquidity is what helps to drive these on-chain metrics, and all of them, MRV, Z-score, crypto quant P&L index, the bull bear cycle indicator, inter-exchange flow pulse, absolutely everything, stablecoin liquidity, Bitcoin demand growth, on-chain profit, trader realized price, technical signals, everything is absolutely redlined over there. So bulls definitely looking for some major relief, but they need much more than that, because any rally that comes up over here is likely to be met with resistance, right? So left shoulder, head, and any rally that comes up into here has a high probability of forming a right shoulder. And if that breaks down, of course, you're looking at some of those lower targets. So be wary if you are long, treat them as short-term trade opportunities. Remember, most of the price cycles, when you rally up into this 50, the 50 EMA over here, you can pierce through it, right? You can see over here, this set in a massive bull trap in 2022, coming off the $69,000 all-time highs in 2021. Pretty aggressive move towards the downside over there. If we have a look at this just from top to bottom over here, let's just grab our tool. From top to bottom over here, that was a drop of 52%, way more significant than what we've seen now. But given that there's been institutional interest in the markets, we can say that maybe get, diminishing returns, but also diminishing losses, and we wouldn't see that kind of a drop. So the bounce over here, it listed at a 46% move. So if you compare that, well, ultimately, huge drop off over here. The point is that you rally into that 50 EMA, which is already rolled over. And anything that rallies into that, you have to treat as resistance. And you're going to have, of course, that 50% level. This is targeting around that 103,000 up to in an extreme scenario, I'd say about $108,000 would be a really, really extreme relief rally. And those are big moves. We spoke about this at the time while trading down here, that these become tradable moves, right? And if that does happen, big resistance over there. You do want to be cautious. So let's see what bulls can do. They're fighting for it over here. But first major level is just below $100,000 because that's your 50 EMA, which is rolling over there. And of course, bulls will want to see a big breakdown over here on the USDT dominance. That will cause price to spike up. But then what you need to be cautious of is, of course, that back test into this level as support. Testing 5.238 as support would equal a local top on Bitcoin. And then you would expect this to continue up. So we need to see the weekly close. It is Thursday. Historically, Thursdays have actually not been that great, right? Let's quickly go over here. Thursdays have mostly been down over the last couple of months. If you go, you can see over here, October, early November, mid-November, late November, and then the final end of November. All the Thursdays for the last couple of Thursdays, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Thursdays in a row, have been pretty much down days. So will we get the same thing? That's what we're waiting for over there. We need to see if we're going to get the same thing or not. Liquidity, also, the books have been wiped, right? Lack of liquidity in the market, very similar to what this post is saying. Without macro liquidity, we're going to actually end up entering into a bear market, and you have that supporting evidence based on the 50 EMA. So I know, very depressing news, right? I'm really sorry, guys. But the good news, the very good news about that is when prices go lower, this is where the most money is made, right? These prices entering in down here between $16,000 and $17,000, or even $16,000 to $20,000. This is where you're going to make that purchase, will make you the bulk of your money. So it's actually a good thing if you do go into a bear market, because it gives you a second opportunity to get exposure. So liquidity books are wiped. If we look over here at the funding rate, it's gone slightly positive again. In my opinion, we haven't seen enough negative funding rates over here to elicit a high probability, strong buy the dip opportunity, huge swing trade opportunity, right? I do believe if you were to swipe or sweep these lows over here at $80,000 and you came back into the super key support, met with extremely negative funding, backwardation within the market, if you will, that becomes a strong buy the dip opportunity. And there's still a lot of froth and optimism in the market, even if you don't think so. There is. We've seen it, right? So we're waiting for that. Bitcoin attempting to reclaim that yearly open over here. We hit that defensive zone. The big yearly open is clustered with a high volume area. It's a big zone to try and reclaim. Step one is getting above that 95K zone. If you can get above 95K, which is where Bitcoin is fighting for right now, you can see we're trading at 93,000. That will be a really good sign. But don't lose sight of the overall trend, right? This is the most realistic trend line that we can draw over here, the most objective, connecting wick to wick to wick, coming down, and you're going to find that trend line with massive resistance at that golden pocket, the 0.618, just below that $100,000 mark. So right below that $100,000 mark, which is very similar to what we've seen over here in terms of those resistance zones, right? Okay, so I think if you want to be super generous towards the bulls, what you could do is you could draw that trend line a little bit tighter, and you can connect instead the bodies. You can go from body of each candle to body of each candle, which is going to drop it down like that. At that point, so I'll price label both if it were to happen today, right? This is like you're really generous towards the bulls, saying if bulls can break above $96,200, very good for the bulls. But I would prefer to go with the most conservative possible trend line, which is going to be connecting those wicks from the highs. This is from the all-time highs at 126,000 down to the next lower high. Price came down, set in another lower high, price came down, and therefore we're going to price label that one over here. Again, this is under the assumption that that happens now, today, $99,000. I'm going to eliminate this one so we don't create any confusion. We want this to be super nice and clean. And then you can see, where does that line up? Well, it lines up. One price target's just above, the other is just below your golden pocket. Your golden pocket is the 0.65 to 618 Fibonacci retracement taken from previous lower high down to ultimate low. We always tell you, or I always tell you, watch price as it moves up. If price is moving up and there's a lack of buying interest or volume, green bars equal buying volume, but is that rising in interest or falling in interest? If it's rising in interest, it creates the opportunity to breach through those resistance zones. But if that volume is dropping off, which it is, if you look at this candle, volume is coming down, then that's a warning sign that you need to be absolutely very, very, very cautious on any long trades, which just means there's a very high probability. Unfortunately, I wish it weren't the case, but unfortunately, there's a very high probability that any rally that comes up into here is more likely to fail than not, right? So this is going to be your big resistance zone. Basically, what I'm saying is just be very, very, very careful over here. You can also see this was previous support. So you can imagine that flipping into resistance. This general area between $96,000 and $99,000 is going to be difficult for bulls to maintain price above. Now, it wouldn't surprise me to see price actually rally all the way above that level. I'll show you on the ETH chart why there's a potential for a big short squeeze there as well. But the question is, can they close it above here? That's the big thing, right? Well, if you can at least start to close some candles above this downsloping trend line over here, that will be your first indication that things are beginning to potentially shift, right? We'll still need to see a lot more, but beginning to potentially shift. So Thursdays, remember, typically not a good day within the market, at least over the last 5 Thursdays that we've had. Your upper Bollinger Bands coming in just below that very key level as well. So you can see that extreme expansion leading into recontraction, prepping for the next move over there on the daily time frame. And here's your ETH BTC. There it is. So I drew this as well as conservatively as possible, touching the wick to the wick to this wick and close over here. We got the wick highs over there. And ultimately, you've now officially got an ETH BTC candle closing above, which is bouncing out of the zone. So maybe this is giving us a little bit of an early lead that there's a chance, if this is going to lead the market, if ETH is going to lead the market, maybe there's a chance for this to begin to rally up towards the upside. But any rallies we have to treat as dead cat bounces or relief rallies. So if you look over here, $3 billion in Ethereum shorts will actually be liquidated if ETH can trade above $3,200 above $3,500. ETH is currently right now trading at 3.2. So very, very, very interesting. We're trading at 3.2. You basically need to get to above about 3,500, and you're going to liquidate some massive amounts of short traders on ETH, which is going to be over here. There's your price table. So same exercise as what we just did with Bitcoin. The first interesting and good news thing for ETH, which is why I say that maybe it's leading, and that's why we're seeing that ETH BTC break that downsloping trend line, is you've now broken above that 50% level. The purple line. Let's have a look in relation to Bitcoin. Bitcoin testing it right now, but it hasn't broken it. Okay. You go back to ETH over here. ETH has broken that level, which is at least one good sign. Let's just quickly redraw that from the high down to the low. And I just need to get those 1 second. Let me just get this back in the right direction. There we go. Okay. So you got your golden pocket as well coming in, very similar to where that massive liquidation zone is. So bulls need to basically break above the order block over here, liquidate the shorts, hold above there, reclaim 3.6, and you begin to shift that trend towards the upside, specifically for, of course, Ethereum. We spoke about the Monero or XMR long trade opportunity. You can scale in over here if you want a really, really, really tight stop loss just below these lows. Otherwise, alternatively, you need to wait for a little bit more of a consolidation. The closer you can get an entry to there, the better. Zcash, a beautiful bounce off of these lows over here. As per our little picture, I'm going to tighten this up a little bit. You may see something like this, right? You may see something like this. I can easily see this running all the way back up. So if you want to cover your short trades over there, had you taken this with me, of course you can do that. I would expect at minimum a rally up to about 459, right? 459, 460 for Zcash. That's your dead cat bounce, your relief rally at minimum. Syrup, still printing. We're still in the short trade. I'm going to, after this video, I think that given what the rest of the market is doing and looks like, just for safety's sake, I think it's worth taking off about 10 to maybe even 15% of the short trade over here. So 10 to 15% profits on Syrup is worthwhile. We'll go to World Liberty Finance. Coming back towards entry over here, you can't lose stops or move to break even. There's a chance that you do this and then break back down. I'm not doing anything over here. No profits have been taken, just leaving the trade exactly as is. So those are the main positions to update you on. I've updated you on MicroStrategy as well. What else? Let's go through the rest of the list over here. So you'll see a lot of the coins are going to be approaching some of those key levels. If I'm not mistaken, 𝗬𝗍 was one of them. Okay, Solana looks okay. Let's go back to 𝗬𝗍 over here. So there it is, 𝗬𝗍 testing the zone, right? You can see the rejection. We spoke about this yesterday as a major resistance zone. Rejection over there. There is potential support just below on the 12-hour time frame. Of course, you got this big inefficiency candle. Let's just see on the 4-hourly if it's, there we go, a little bit more crystal clear. So any pullback down into 148 gives, I guess, bulls in the low time frame another chance, something like that. Another little bit of an opportunity to try and break through that resistance, which you can just look to Bitcoin to see, has Bitcoin started to break some of those key zones, or is it rejecting? And then you'll know what to do for some of those altcoins like 𝗬𝗍. Okay, cool. Let's see, what else? Cool, let's go, guys. I'm just checking the comments very quickly. Every Thursday back down. Yeah, according to the data, that's exactly what's happening. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if it's going to be the same story again or not. Sonic. Okay, just price structure wise, it looks exactly like the rest of them. There's a lot of resistance over there for Sonic. It's got a lot of work to do. All of this is going to be massive underside resistance, just under 12 cents. So really, it's just super risky jumping into all these kind of things, which is why I actually wanted to bring your attention to something else and gauge the sentiment or thought process around this. Polymarket Trader flipped $12 into $30,000 by basically predicting 11 straight short-term BTC moves in a row. In a way, I mean, these, polymarket and prediction market sites present a lot of opportunity. I think there might be one opportunity that I found on this, that you guys can make stable growth, right? With, at least for now, while the window's open. These windows close. Let me know if there's an appetite for that. Let me know in the comments if you are interested in finding out a strategy that I've been playing around with, which does make steady growth within the prediction market. In other words, it's not a gamble, right? There's no gamble over there. Put a 1 in the chat if you're interested. If you'd prefer not to have it, drop a 2 in the chat. I guess this is going to be more for the live viewers, but let me know. 1, if you're interested. 2, if you'd prefer to just focus on other stuff. Because we're all looking for opportunities, right? We're all looking for opportunities, ways to make additional capital while the market is low, the volume is low, and the prices are moving down. Okay, you guys are saying yes. 1, most of you are interested. No one said no yet, right? Okay, so I'll try and put that plan together. I just need to, I'm testing it. I'm busy testing it. That's why I haven't brought it to you yet, because I need to run with it a little bit more. But I first wanted to see your guys' thoughts, Anyone that's in the post stream, so you're not watching live, you can also drop a comment below and I'll go and check the comments tomorrow. Drop a yes or 1. I just said 1 because people are that lazy. They can't even type out 3 letters for yes. So that's why I just say if you want, put a 1. Bear moon, bull moon. Look, we got a bull moon that's coming up. But remember, bull moons in downtrends, pause or bounce price, they don't necessarily reverse trends. And if the bull moon is, I think it's coming up like tomorrow or something. Let me just quickly pull up another chart for you guys. 1 second. Let me just get this chart over here. This one. Okay. Let's quickly have a look at this chart over here. And we will quickly throw on the moon. Oh, there we go. We got it. We got the bull moon. So it is officially a bull moon. The bull moon printed now today. So yes, this can push price up, but you got to clear all those resistance levels. So the way that I treat it is, if this bull moon is mega powerful and elicits a very, very sizable bounce over the next 2 weeks or the 15 days, what that will do is it will provide the opportunity to possibly clear the big resistances. Your best buying opportunity or safest buying opportunity would still come off of the next bear moon, as long as that bear moon leads into a high low. That's basically what you're going to be looking at if you are trading the moon phases or the moon cycles. But big resistance, right? 50 EMA coming down, 200 EMA coming down, 50 MA, 200 MA, all of those are coming down, dailies, weeklies, all different time frames, huge resistances that need to be cleared, right? A lot of work to be done. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, cool. So the sentiment is yes. You guys have all said yes. You want more about the prediction market. So give me a couple of days, maybe a week, and I'll bring that to your attention. I'll show you. Don't worry, it's not going to run away. It's not like price. There's always going to be those opportunities based on various different predictions. Okay, cool. So we covered that. I also wanted to outline to you guys, if you just look in the link in the description below over here, the for security, Ledger, NordVPN have extended their sale opportunity. I believe they're going to be running it, I guess, for the rest of today and maybe tomorrow. Look at that. Someone's phoning me. It's Josh. Can you believe it? Josh Lester is calling me while I'm live on stream. Anyways, we'll call him back in a moment. Must be important if he's calling me. So guys, Ledger, 50% off plus $90 worth of BTC. They obviously give you some sort of a voucher. They're not going to load it onto the Ledger because you need to set up for security purposes. But if you are looking for the best security wallet in the world, it's Ledger. Of course, Ledger is going to be the best of the best. Check it out. Use the link in the description below. And then most importantly, I would say is NordVPN. And the reason why I say that is because this is a mega sale. Look at the link in the description below. 75% off plus 4 months free, which basically makes it like 90% off. You're paying less than the freaking price of a cappuccino. Guys, if you don't have $2.88 per month to protect yourself, you're insane. Because I know you're all trading crypto on your phones, right? On your mobile device. Remember, when you get an account, by the way, it's you can put on multiple devices. So, for example, I have it on my mobile device, on 2 of my different laptops. You can set up on multiple devices. It's just one login. So it's really worthwhile. And it's not like it blocks you out of, like you can turn on the VPN on multiple devices in multiple different locations simultaneously. It's a huge win. $2.88. You have to do it on Black Friday. It's the best opportunity for you. Get it at the cheapest rate with the biggest sign-up bonus, which is 4 extra months for free. So check that out over there. Okay, cool. That's it from me, guys. I'll see you all on the next one. Let's find out what Josh needs because he was phoning me. And I will see you guys soon. Cheers for now.